Good afternoon. We're going to make bone broth today, and some of this is pre-prepared, some of this has got to be prepared. So start saving your bones from when you've had a joint, put them in the freezer for when you need them, or go to the butcher's and get some dog bones. These are beef knuckles, I think. They cost about £1. So if they're uncooked, they need to go in the oven for 40 minutes. So I'm going to do that and then we'll come back. Medium 180 degrees centigrade. I'll put a timer on and we'll come back in 40 minutes. Okay, 40 minutes is up. So that's partly cooked, it helps bring out the flavour. And we've also got bones. I've been collecting bones over the last couple of months. We don't have a lot of joints, to be honest. So we've got pork, we've got beef, we've got chicken and we've got lamb. I try and get all 4 of them so that we get the variety. And you want equal measures of bones to vegetables, more or less. You can do small batches, you can do it in a pressure cooker. Pressure cookers, you can divide the time in 4 and get it done much quicker. But I tend to do a big batch and then freeze it down and use it over the next few months. So we're going to put those bones in first because they're the biggest. And something like this. Might be too big. Oh, yep, managed to get it. I think I'll put that in as well. What you're basically doing is getting all of the last bits of goodness from bones, and I make it with vegetables as well because then you get all the goodness from the bones and the vegetables. So that's what we're after. So I'll just pop all that in there. If you don't want the fat from the bones, then you can skim it off later. I'm going to carry on filling it with bones and vegetables. Again, you can make your life easier. I think that was a bit of a bone. You can make your life easier and you can cut extra vegetables whenever you prepare vegetables. Just prepare some extra ones. So I've got a whole bag here and I've frozen those earlier, a month ago or something, and I'll put all of those in, and I've got some fresh stuff here as well that's going to go in. So I'm going to put most of those bones in. The vegetables tend to fill in the gaps. There's a bit of fat in there which I'm not going to put in. Take that out. I shall recycle that. So just do equal measures. You could just do a pound of each, you could do 2 or 3 or 4. I just fill this up until it's done. Try and get something green in if you can. This is all sorts of things, probably things that needed using up. There's carrots, leeks, that looks like celeriac, peppers. Now because this is going in the oven and not on the top, I don't need to worry too much about overfilling it. I can put a bit more in there. I like a bit of fruit in mine as well. So I've got some tomatoes here from the oven, from the garden. They're going to go in. Got some mushrooms. Mushrooms I'm not quite sure of. I used those before, but they don't really cook down, not in the same way that other vegetables do. Now you're going to be surprised how long this needs to be in the oven. If you have got beef bones, you have got to cook it on very low for 48 hours. If you don't have beef and you just have chicken, lamb, or what's the other one, pork, then you can reduce that time to 24 hours. So it goes on for something like 80 degrees, I think, very low for 2 days. I can't do it on the top, on the stove top, because my oven keeps turning off after a few hours because it thinks I've wandered off and forgotten. So I have to do mine in the oven. And because I tend to do an awful lot in one go, I can't use my pressure cooker because that doesn't take enough. So I think I'm not going to do those actually. I'm going to put some green in. Try and get a rainbow of vegetables if you can. Try and get all the different reds, orange, yellows, greens, and that way you get all the variety of all the different minerals and vitamins that are available. You're cooking it very, very slowly. You're trying to extract all of the marrow from the bones. And we do sieve it, so you don't actually have any lumps from the vegetables or the bones. We do that once it's cooled down after it's cooked. So it's not a quick process really, but what you will get is a really, really good stock. I use this stock for everything. I use it in the base for curries, soups. Sometimes I use it in lasagna, sometimes I use it in the bolognese, sometimes I use it in the actual cheese sauce as well. It does make things go slightly brown if you use it in a cheese sauce, but then you're getting the goodness, that's the thing. So I'm going to put some blackberries. I really like blackberries in mine, so I love to keep some in the freezer. These came from down the end of the road. Went blackberry picking earlier on. They were early this year. I reckon that's about enough. And I might just put a couple of pears in as well. Sometimes when you put green in, it makes it a little bit bitter, so I tend to just put a little bit of fruit in to take that bitterness away. You can season it if you want. I don't tend to, because I don't tend to cook with salt and pepper anyway. So I'm just going to put a couple of these in. And then what we do is, before it goes in the oven, we just soak it all for an hour with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. And the reason why we do that is because, again, it softens the bones slightly and to get as much goodness out of it as possible. So the bones need to be cooked, either what you've been making or from the butchers. It's always asking them what kind of bones they've got. I tend to wait until I've got a bit of everything, but you don't have to. And because I make such a big batch, I don't have to do it very often. But it literally goes in everything. It's instead of a stock cube, essentially. And you know what's gone in it. And as I say, none of the actual fruit and veg and bones go into the bone broth. We strain it. So we're just going to fill this up with water. and about a tablespoon. I'm thinking that's about what's left in there will do. Oh no, it's a bit more than that. That'll do. Yeah. This is apple cider vinegar. I'm making some at the moment. Apple cider vinegar from some of the apples from the garden. So this goes over here. I use filtered water for cooking. So we're just going to leave this for an hour to sit, and then it will go in the oven. You just need to cover the veg. So if you do 1 pound of bones, 1 pound of veg, you just wait until it's covered. If you've only got small pots, just make a small batch, and then just get into the habit of putting it in everything. All my soups have it in. I think I've covered everything now, which should dilute the vinegar. Put vinegar down at the bottom, really, where the bones are. The vinegar is for the bones, not for the veg. But I'm just doing it all in one go. I should put the lid on, put the timer on for an hour, and then we're done. So it's nice and colourful. It'll have lots of different vitamins and minerals from all of the different things. Experiment. I would suggest don't put anything in that you don't like. So if you don't like courgettes or you don't like pepper, don't put it in. Just put what you've got, and if you want to, if things are sort of perhaps from the garden and they're not quite perfect, this is, give it a wash, chop it up, put it in the freezer, and then wait till you've got the right amount of bones, the right amount of veg, and off you go. It's just starting to come up now. This doesn't really boil. You're doing it on 80 to 90 degrees, so you're just cooking it very, very slowly over 2 days. So I'm going to go not more than that's about right. So everything should be covered now. So this is going to make so much. Just check to make sure there's no big air bubbles. It's okay that the bones are on the bottom and that the veg is on the top. It's going in the oven, it'll all get cooked evenly. So that really is it. Blackberries are already making a bit of a colour in there. This will be quite dark, so if you do use it for something like a cheese sauce, it will just make it dark, but it will have so much goodness in it. So I should just pop it here out of the way, put the lid on, put the timer on for an hour, and once that's done, that will go into the oven on 80 to 90 degrees centigrade. Okay, it's been an hour. So very simply, nothing's happened. It's all in there ready. I'm going to turn the oven on, but it's going to be on the lowest setting. So if you look, it's the lowest setting. And I need to take these out and put it on the lowest one because my pot's so big. Oh, and it's heavy as well. Right. There you go. That is going to go in there for 48 hours. So 24 hours, I'll put it on again, and I'll see you in 2 days. Okay, it's 48 hours later. Timer's just gone off for the second time of 24 hours. I've turned the oven off. pot out. Now if you don't have a second oven, you would have to plan this. There, that's what it looks like. You'd have to plan it so that you eat things that need to be heated up in the stovetop or the microwave, or takeaway if you want. Luckily I have 2 ovens, so that looks about right. I'm just going to leave it to cool for a couple of hours. It's not boiling hot because it's been on relatively low, but just leave it for a couple of hours to cool down, and then we're going to strain it. So I'll see you in a couple of hours. Good morning. We were too tired last night, so this went to cool in the outside loo overnight because we were watching Gogglebox and then got too tired. So it's nice and cool now, which makes it easier. It's not an attractive colour, but it's full of goodness. So you just have to get stuck in, wear gloves if you want to. These are the pots that I use, Lakeland, and they're the small ones. This is about right for one curry or one soup for about 4 people. So that's a good portion. You can get different sizes, or you can start saving your own. These are about the right size. Anything like this that you can put a lid on. Be wary of using anything glass though in the freezer, because it can crack when the liquid expands a bit. So plastic is good. So if you know you're going to do this and you want to do a great big batch like me, then start saving your pots or get some of these. You need labels and a pen so that you can write down the date, the time and the date, and what it is. I never have more than 1 batch on in one go. I do 1 batch, use it, then I do another batch, and in the time that I'm using it, that's when I collect all of my bones. If there's any spare vegetables, they get ready, chopped up in the freezer to go, or I use fresh, just depending on what it is. But the whole point is this is using up the very last goodness of vegetables and meat. So it shouldn't be an expensive enterprise. This is a bit messy, so I've got clean hands. I'll get these ready, and what I'm trying to do is to get some of there'll be bone marrow in there hopefully. I need to try and find a bone. There's a big bone. With any luck, there's a big bone. With any luck, the marrow in there is nice and soft. That's what you want to get out, that's what you want to use. So that can go straight in, but we strain everything normally, but that bone marrow, that's the goodness. So we try and share that out. There's other bones. So this will all, that's done now. There's nothing on there there's no goodness left in that. So that will just get recycled. Oh, blimey. And we need just a pot, like a cup, like this. And we get hold of a cup, we get hold of a strainer. It will be messy. Well, maybe not. I'm messy. I can't make anything without making a mess. I am the original Muppet baker, like the Swedish Muppet chef. That's still quite hard, so I'm not going to be able to squash that out. But the goodness will be in the liquid. So if you don't want the fat, then carry on doing this, and then when it's frozen you can just take that bit off, because once it's cool it will settle, and a bit like dripping when we were kids, you'd get the jelly and the layer of fat. If you don't want to use the fat, then take it off, and then you've just got the goodness. So this all gets recycled into the compost bin. And I try and get it quite even, where I get the meat, bits of meat and bits of vegetables. So some of those vegetables have softened a bit more than others. So I just do this to get as much of the goodness out as possible. Some brave people just drink this. I'm not that brave. Happy to have it as an alternative to a stock cube. And you know what's gone in it. You know that it's full of goodness. And if you can, just use the bones that you've already got, or get some cheap dog bones from the butchers. And you just keep going until you've got none left. I'm going to be here a while, so I don't think you need to keep me company for the whole thing. You'll be snoozing. So I shall just keep going. I'll see you when this is all done. Just to let you know, this is another one of the big bones, and this is the marrow. This is the really good stuff. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of this, and I'm going to divide it equally into some of the bone broth, because that white stuff is the marrow and it's really good for you. So you don't need a huge amount in each one. But look how soft it is, and that's why you cook it for as long as you do. That's it. So that's the really good stuff. And then obviously you've got lots of other vitamins and minerals that have come through from the other bones and from all of the vegetables. So that's it. There's nothing else on that one. That's done. I think there's possibly one more of those in there, but that's the really good stuff. I know it doesn't look very appetizing, but if you bung it into a curry or a soup, you're not going to see it, but you're going to get all the goodness, and it doesn't really taste like, it just tastes like stock. And so if you're okay with a stock cube, then you'll be okay with the flavour of this. Okay, so we're done. We have 15 batches here, and just use them like a stock cube. I'll put a couple of recipes on the end of this as well for you to try, but basically this is a stock cube. Just use slightly less liquid, because obviously this has got liquid in. If you want to take the fat off it, notice that the fat's the colour of the vegetables, the marrow stays white. So if you look at this one, the marrow is white, but the fat's sort of slightly green, because I always put something green in. These will set a little bit harder, but they're all going to go in the freezer. I shall put lids on them, I will label them, and then clear up my side, because it's a bit messy. But this is brilliant. I always like to have stock in the freezer. So it's the only thing I have to do now is put lids on and labels. There's some labels from the last batch. The last time I did one was June. There you go. So it's September now. In the 3 months, I've collected all my pieces of vegetables and bones. So I ended up with chicken, lamb, beef and pork. So it's got a variety of vegetables. We only have meat possibly once or twice a week, and that includes things like ham and things like that. So we don't have meat an awful lot. So I just collect everything until I've got enough to do a big batch. If you want to do more frequent, smaller batches, obviously that's your choice. And if you've got a pressure cooker, you can divide the time by 4. And you only need 48 hours if there's beef. It's 24 hours if it's pork, lamb or chicken. or even turkey if you use turkey. So I shall put fresh labels on this. I can never get these things to work, so it will literally just be one of those, and it's September now. So, oh, it's October now, isn't it? Bone broth, 10, 20. So I know, not that I have another batch on the go. But if, for example, you did, when you had the time, just make sure that you use the oldest batch first. Okay, I should put some recipes on. This is basically homemade stock. You know what's gone in it, and you are literally squeezing out every single piece of goodness from what's left over. Bit of upcycling, we like a bit of that. And I should put some recipes on the end as well for various different things.